Drop of a hat, these guys will rock and roll.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Kill James Bond, the first one of robbery season. I am November Kelly. I am joined, as always, by my co-conspirators Abigail Thorne and Devon.
Hello!
How you doing?
And we have a guest, Dr. Mark Geldof, historian of violence, is joining us.
Hello.
Hell yes.
Hell yeah!
Thank you for having me.
It's our pleasure. It's been a hot minute since I decided to do this, and since I pitched this to you, Mark, and I'm like, we finally got here after a long sort of season of Euro Spy. And I guess to start with, I want to kind of set out my stall of why move from spy movies to a heist movie genre, why the genre switch. And part of the answer is eventually we're going to do every movie. This is a convenient way of organizing them.
I think part of our answer also has to be Kill James Bond has excelled in every area. We've spy movies, Euro spy movies, superhero movies, except crime!
Yeah, exactly. And I think
absolutely,
as we saw with Diabolic, they're kind of linked genres, right? They're both fantasies of masculinity, of violence, of power.
Yeah.
And in this case, it's about being an outsider in the sense that you're tougher and smarter than the law. And I think it says something about society, about masculinity, all the rest of it.
I think this movie says a lot about women too.
Yes.
None of it good.
No.
No, not at all.
But this is Heat, Michael Mann's film. I think it's one of, if not my favorite films, one of the most impactful films I've ever seen on me. And I think it's one of the best heist or best robbery, best crime films I've ever seen, which is interesting because I found an interview with Michael Mann where he's like, yeah, it's not a crime film. So that's the thesis out the window already. It's gone.
All right. Well, fortunately, the author's dead, and we know that.
Yeah.
It's clearly a crime film.
Yeah.
And we have killed him.
He describes it as being like a kind of symphonic, operatic film that it doesn't really, the genre doesn't really matter to it.
It's about robbers. It's a crime film. Don't be a dick.
Well,
I will say, though, that it's fucking great.
It is self-indulgent, certainly. I don't actually remember the first time I saw this, but I was kicking around when the thing came out. And I remember at the time thinking, this movie's just shy of 3 hours. And it feels like it was shot at 6 hours and then cut. And actually, it's a remake of a made-for-TV movie that was supposed to be a pilot for a series that Mann wanted to run.
LA
and all this stuff.
Takedown.
Yeah, or I think also, was it Made in LA? And it has a couple of different titles. And some stuff is shot, almost shot for shot in this. And some stuff is completely changed. But then, it's there's stuff in this that I'm sure is just for Mann, and that we're even expected to catch.
It's really auteur-like in the sense of if they don't like the movie that you want to make, keep making it until they do.
Yeah.
Just I have brought you another version of this scene. Will you make the movie now? And the studios go, okay, will you make this movie on time and under budget? And Michael Mann goes, no, not at all.
He's using the Mel Brooks tactic of when producers give you notes, you just say, yeah, it's a great idea, and then don't do it.
Immediately, notes straight into the bin.
Yeah. So this movie it's a movie about crime. Certainly, it's a movie about men. It's a movie about loneliness and alienation. And where better to give you an attitude of loneliness and alienation than the light rail in Los Angeles. Weirdly enough, this is a common thing in LA. I don't know why Angelenos just don't like their light rail system, but they always use it in movies to convey fundamental atomization. It's a thing in Bardo as well.
The father of Goku?
Yeah.
It becomes a key plot element or story element anyway in Collateral.
Yes,
which is practically,
yeah.
And so also his remake of himself, I don't know. I'm sure you'll get to that one eventually.
Oh, yeah. Also, I should say, as we acknowledge, this is a 2-hour 50 movie, so we are going to be like necessarily brushing
We might have
past
to
some
shift
stuff.
through this, yeah.
Actually, do I just hand the reins to Abby here for like?
Yeah, Robert De Niro gets off the light rail in LA. I mean, I'm one to talk, but this goatee sucks. I'm sorry, man. I also made this mistake.
Everybody in this
Like a
movie
little
looks
odd.
kind of shit, is the thing. There's nobody really like aspirational, like, oh, I want to be like De Niro in Heat, because it's like De Niro in Heat is a guy wearing a really boxy, like double-breasted jacket, open all the time, with a like sort of prominent mole and a goatee, and you're just like,
I think we'll get to the aspirational looks when we do the Ocean series and you've got Brad Pitt cutting about.
That was 95 for you.
Yeah, this movie came out in 1995, so 20 years before I was born. I love the editing in this sequence. Like, it's so jumpy as he walks into this hospital because he's like looking around and he's noticing everything and he's nervous and he steals an ambulance.
yeah, which you can just do that, it turns out. They're free. They usually have the keys in them. You know, the NHS doesn't like it, but they can't stop you. Meanwhile, we see across town, Al Pacino is having a weird sex scene.
Yeah, it's in his contract. He has to be introduced making love, I think.
I got the chains.
So in 1995, intimacy coordinators had not yet been invented. And part of a job of an intimacy coordinator is to make like sex scenes safe on set, but also part of them is to make it look good. So what we cut to is Al Pacino eating a woman face first. Like, what the fuck, do you kiss like that, bro? You just like he's a fucking hogfish.
He's got an interesting kind of technique for this, and also looks kind of gross. Like, he's very, very tan to the point that he looks a bit kind of leathery. He's wearing a like big St. Christopher medal. He's got the kind of like puffed up hair.
He doesn't look good.
Yeah, resident Al Pacino fucker here. He's on the way out in 1995.
Yeah.
So is Val Kilmer. Val Kilmer had one more year left in him, but he's still hot here.
Absolutely.
Yeah, everybody looked like this in 95. I mean, I can...
God, is that true?
Confirm. And actually, I mean, if anybody has some serious Google foo, everybody's goatee looked like that too, including mine. So
Damn.
I've filled out since, but yeah.
I went the other way personally,
Bad
but
goatees, you know, it's happened to us all.
We invented looking good sometime in the like 2010s, probably.
I shaved so much of my goatee off, they took some of my chin with it.
but so across...
He's fucking Natalie Portman's mum.
He is. Natalie Portman, who is like extremely stressed and like, I don't know how young she is here, but like child acting.
Yeah. Like 13, 14.
She's really good in this because her dad is going to come to visit. She can't find her shoes and she's really, really stressed by this, like crying because she really wants to see her father separated from her mum. And Al Pacino's
understand that the father has like routinely ghosted her because she has bad vibes.
Yeah.
and Al Pacino's like, damn, that's crazy. What a massive piece of shit. By the way, I also have to leave urgently for my cop job, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
This will be a recurring theme, I think.
Yes. Yeah.
And this point, we have to meet the Joker.
Yes.
Let's meet some fellas.
This is great, right? Because we're doing the like assembling the heist team thing in motion in the heist that we are about to see done. And we introduce, this is a great benchmark for how to economically introduce a character as a piece of shit. We meet Waingro. Waingro is going to be central to
Much wanted Waingro.
my understanding of heist movies. I'm going to use the term Waingro moment a few times. How would we describe this man aside from
put his fucking face on a
aside
badge
from
at some
Lynch
point.
from Kane and Lynch, you know?
It's kind of like long hair,
like a
bit
skullet.
of a beard going on, like trying not to describe Mark.
Yeah, very self-confident.
A much less handsome version of Mark.
I'm going to own that. Yeah,
There's a very visible distinction in that Waingro, as we see
visibly
him like
a Nazi,
sort of like exit the like shitty, not even apartment, like shed he lives in next to a Mexican restaurant.
And I should say, not the new kind of American Nazi. This is 1995. We're talking like biker type, long
prison
hair Nazi.
type Nazi, like Aryan Brotherhood type Nazi, which is why he's got the like sig runes tattooed on the side of his neck.
Totally.
And you just go, oh, okay, like I get this guy pretty much instantly. You know, I can judge the book by the cover you're handing to me here. And he gets picked up in like a wrecker, like a big tow truck by Tom Sizemore, guy we love to see.
Hell yeah.
This is a movie that's definitely in the guy we love to see category. I will be doing that a few more times.
So we meet the crew, which is Waingro, who's the new guy. He's been hired just today to be part of this heist.
Mhm.
Michael, who's driving Waingro around and who
That's Tom Sizemore.
notably at one point calls him Slick.
Mhm.
And also Danny Trejo is here, Val
Yeah,
Kilmer is here,
don't worry.
and Robert De Niro is here.
Yes, yeah,
Danny Trejo's here-ish.
Yeah. His character's even called Trejo.
Yeah,
that's true. He's in his
Yeah.
real name arc.
Yeah.
When Tom Sizemore calls Waingro Slick, it's because Waingro's nervous, right? He's like asking a lot of questions. He's like, do you guys work together often? He's sort of like trying to be, he's being parasocial, right? He's being weird.
Love your crimes.
Yeah. And then Tom Sizemore is like, just stop talking, okay? Because we are now going to do the heist. You're being picked up off the street to do the thing instantly. And what it is a bit that GTA 5 ripped off. Because this is one of the most.
I've ripped off this whole fucking movie,
genuinely.
including Robert De Niro's character.
This movie has been ripped off by so many different things in so many different directions. But they used the ambulance to block in an armored car, and they used the tow truck to like ram it off the road. And like blow open the back door with explosives.
Yeah.
It is sick. This is, to be
It's sick,
absolutely
nasty.
clear, if this does not get your pulse racing, you are clinically dead.
I actually had to rewatch it to check if there was a soundtrack, and there is some music in the back, like just a rhythm kind of thing in the back.
Oh,
But
sick.
you watch it the first time, you don't even notice it because
It's
it
true,
is so
yeah.
tightly put together.
It's
another one of the bits where you wonder, why did he put in so much detail in such a short sequence? Because if you need to, you can tell all of the principals apart because they're all wearing slightly different hockey masks.
Yeah, totally.
Only Neil and Val Kilmer are using M4s. The other two guys have different guns. You can tell it's Danny Trejo once he comes out, even though he's got a mask on. Because if you're watching, you notice he's the one with the AK. And I mean, it's all put together like you can tell it apart, except you don't need to.
The way that they move as well, like you see them kind of like move to like put the explosive charge on the back of the van, the way they like draw like kind of spike strip across the road to like intercept the cops. And it's also practiced, right? And this is a thing that I think like man identifies with some of the later gunfights in this movie, is that the process of rehearsing for a movie is something that overlaps with like a planned robbery very well.
Yeah, no, it looks so slick. We learn a lot about them as well. Like we get that they're very like they know what the fuck they're doing because they're listening to a police scanner, and the second that it gets called in, they start a 3-minute timer.
Yeah.
So it's like they know how long it takes for the cops to get there.
Yeah,
really, really good.
So they grab the security guards out of the back of the van, and Waingro is like sort of holding them at gunpoint. You know it's Waingro because he has the like slightly different mask, as you say, and they've all been deafened by the explosive. And so while Tom Sizemore is like going through the back of the van looking for a specific thing as well.
Actually, it's Chris in the back.
Oh, sorry, my bad. Val Kilmer. Yeah. But they're looking for a specific package of like bonds. But what happens is Waingro has his Waingro moment, right? Which is I'm going to define as the guy you brought onto the heist crew who is like unbalanced and provocative and dangerous.
A little too about it.
Sadistic too.
Escalates the situation.
He's sadistic because he executes one of the guards for fun. He later protests like, oh, he was making a move. The guy was not. He executes one of these guards for fun. And then I think he shoots another one, and then it's Michael who's then just like kills the third.
Yeah. He shoots the one, and then one of the guards has a secondary on his, like an ankle holster.
Like
goes for that. Neil shoots him. Then the third guy is just like
standing there, dazed and deafened, and they're like, "What do we do with this guy?" Neil gives the nod, and Chris Val Kilmer like shoots him with the like.
Actually, it's Mike who does that.
Oh fuck! Okay, God damn it! Okay.
This is too granular a level of detail.
Sorry.
Yeah, my bad.
He's the one with the FN.
He gets shot. He gets shot twice in the chest and once in the head. It's like very, very practiced, and it's interesting as well because and they leave the scene ahead of the cops who like run into the spike strip. And this is interesting to me because it's a scene of something going wrong smoothly.
Yes,
like. Botched heist is kind of its own sort of like subgenre, right? Where you see where the whole like intricate plan falls apart. Whereas what this is an intricate plan going wrong and then adapting to the circumstances.
No.
Yes, which tells you a lot more about them than it just going right the first time, is that like these guys are well practiced enough that they can adapt to situations.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they get away. And then we go and Robert De Niro meets John Voight, who is their kind of like crimes
Voight.
wizard.
Looking bad as hell.
Certified weirdo.
we found this unsettling looking guy. He's gonna like organize our crimes. And
unfortunately, John Voight was available, so we didn't get James Cromwell.
he proposes this scheme, which is the bonds are insured. So like the guy's going to get 100% of their value back anyway. It's from this guy Van Zandt. These are whose bonds they've stolen. He's a
the
like
villain from Zelda Twilight Princess.
Yeah, he's a money launderer for Link and Zelda and drug traffickers. And so what they try on him is the idea of like, okay, you're going to get your insurance money back anyway. Buy the bonds back from us, pay us to get robbed, essentially, and we have done you a service. You get like whatever the value of them is after we launder them, plus the insurance claim. You make a profit on us having robbed you.
Yeah,
just a
courteous
thing to mention about Voight and Nate. Apparently, the character's modeled after a guy named Eddie Bunker, who is an advisor on this film, who is also sponsor for Trejo when he got out of prison. And he would have met John Voight on Runaway Train because he was an advisor on that. And that's a prison break kind of movie. So it was all sort of tied up together.
It's so cool how so much of Hollywood
really
stuff
nice.
is just meeting a guy and copying him. Like,
well, I mean, that's where half the story of this film comes from. Man, anyway, from his cop connections in Chicago. The Waingro, the name is a real guy who apparently did this with some crews in Chicago in the 70s.
100% honest. Even if it was like at a remove of like, 20 years, I would not be using the real names of like Nazi criminals.
Especially to be like, this guy's a dickhead for the whole movie.
Although maybe they love that shit, maybe the real Waingro is like looking at the screen like, yo, they put me in the movie.
He's having to change his name now because everyone thinks he's a dick.
Waingro watching this and just having like the Hedwig and the Angry Inch moment, just be like, wow, oh my God, I'm in the movie.
The real one did die he did die.
You hope so.
Wow.
You said that in a way that made it sound like you killed him, Mark.
Oh, no, I was there. I saw.
I mean, spoilers.
Historian of violence that I've committed personally.
I keep doing that.
Yeah, historian of applied violence. But no, so what happens then is we get Pacino in as this cop to explain to you again how all of the cool stuff you just saw was cool. Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Pacino rolls up at the crime scene. He's like, damn, these guys are good. I want a hard target search of every outback steakhouse, hen house, cat house.
Absolutely.
Hard house,
Dog
straw house, piggy house, everything. Yeah.
There's a very particular like cop way of talking that is very affected, but that absolutely like, lights up my brain. I really like it. And so the fact that this movie is like two almost 3 hours long is largely because every scene of them doing something cool, you have Pacino coming in to say, damn, they're cool.
Yeah, whoa.
But the thing that he pulls out that they know what they're doing is not just the like spike strip and the response time and all of this, but that, and I think this is one of the hardest lines in the movie, just because of that like way of having written it and his delivery, which is always insane. We'll get to that. Is when they kill the first guard, they know they're all going to prison for like, on sort of like felony murder collectively. So they just kill all the others because why leave a living witness? And as he says, at the drop of a hat, these guys will rock and roll.
It's your trailer line. Hell
Sick.
yeah.
Sick.
And we see that is true because Waingro having thus fucked it up for them slightly.
Mr. Waingro, it's time for your performance meeting.
Yeah, with this gun.
Please touch this metal plate.
Yeah.
This crew does not tolerate failure.
He's at the everyone's mad at you meeting at the Outback Steakhouse, and he's still housing apple pie. Like, he does not care.
Yeah. And very America scene. Even like when they start that scene, it's a shot through a window with Wenger, with this bit of pie. Anyone want some pie? And a little America flag in the front. It's like, my notes at this point say America.
Yes. This is where it is. Yeah.
Murder and pie.
If I was about to get killed by a criminal gang, I would eat apple pie. Cause I'm like, fuck it, they've got gyms in heaven.
That's facts.
but so yeah, they sort of like De Niro comes in and like bonks his head off the table and the window, and Tom Sizemore has to like intimidate a guy, which is very cool. And then they take him outside, and they're going to execute him. Right?
They're fully gonna kill him. Yeah, we see Danny Trejo open his like car's boot, and it's like
Pops
all
the trunk
plastic bagged. That's all right.
Yeah,
it's over for you, brother.
Have they done this before?
Which fair enough, you know.
At which point, a couple of like a passing squad car just kind of like stops at the intersection, and they have to wait. And De Niro loses object permanence for a second. He's just like, what was I doing?
Waingro disappears with the power of editing.
I don't even know what I came in here for. And
it's kind of his only real lapse in professionalism, but it's a plot necessity, so they let it slide.
And Waingro disappears. They can't find him.
Val Kilmer goes home, and we get a fucking incredibly acted scene where he goes home to his wife. We establish that he's got gambling debts, so yes, they've just made a whole bunch of money, but also in a greater sense, they haven't made any money at all. And they have this fight, which is probably only like 7 or 8 lines long, but the way both these actors just hit the beat changes are just like, everything's great, we're in the money. Oh, everything's not actually that great, actually. Well, actually, fuck you, just bam, bam, bam. And it just really escalates until Val Kilmer just like trashes the place and leaves.
His wife calls him a child growing older. Which
it's almost as like it's as explosive as the heist itself, just that sort of rapid kind of thing. Although before this, we do have the little bit of Michael Mann's sort of
the painting bit,
entertainment. Yeah, the Alex Colville painting.
Yeah, Neil goes home to his home, which is like sort of like floor to ceiling glass windows overlooking the Pacific. This is an empty house as well. This is evoking a painting by Alex Colville called Pacific, which is like a great little like evocative piece of like Californian crime art.
Although weirdly sort of inverted in that Colville's painting is warmer. You can see the sea, but in Neil's place, there's a fence that blocks it, but you can hear the sea.
And it's dark.
Yeah, it's all blue tones again in Mann, but in Colville, you get this nice brown table, browning high power, and all this kind of stuff. But he keeps the same posture and the same kind of composition. But again, it's sort of, if you blink, you miss it.
It's a kind of like it's darker and emptier now than it was in the kind of like imagination of like your like 60s crime fiction.
So then Robert De Niro goes to a bookstore. He's like researching something. He goes to a restaurant. He's sitting next to a beautiful lady. And she hits on him.
She asks him, what did you get from the bookstore? And he has this kind of curiously duff line that sticks in my head from the script where he just says,
Book about metals.
And she thinks, I can't not fuck him.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I get it.
This weird, evasive guy who's like, there's a book about metals. It's just like, oh my God.
Yeah. But she hits on him, which I quite like. Yeah. And he sort of shuts her down quite aggressively. And she's like, okay, sorry. And then like he feels bad about it. And then
because he's like, what are you doing asking all these questions about me? You know? He's defensive right away.
Sorry, I just wanted to suck your dick or whatever. And he's like, oh, sorry, in that case. Like, I'm a metal salesman. Illegal. I don't do crimes. I'm actually a cop. Whatever.
Yeah. He like claims to be a salesman who is just like, you know, he works in metals. That's why he's reading about stress fractures in titanium. And she takes him home, right, to her place.
He says, someday I'm going to retire to Fiji after I've done selling all these metals.
Yeah, and I'm just like, ooh, buddy.
I think you are.
He does kind of ask her about her haplogroups.
We're all going to Fiji!
Well, he asks her a lot of questions.
Yes.
Tahiti.
And thinking about it, you know, in retrospect, sort of, I mean, you know, it's a bit of probably his, you know, self-preservation kind of thing. He's going to make sure this, you know, she isn't a cop, that there's nothing weird going on. But then also it fits with the men never ask questions, you know? So it's like, show interest, this kind of thing. It's like, okay, I can see actually how this could have worked out. You know, it's like, oh, he's interested in me, like asking questions and letting me answer them as opposed to monologuing.
No.
So,
well, he takes it a little too far. He does just sort of just ask her questions the whole time.
Yeah, it is a bit. Yeah, it's more like an interrogation.
There's definitely a middle ground to be hidden there, I think.
Yeah.
And of course, he doesn't give anything back because she asks him, like, you know, who are your people? Do you have family? And like obviously he has no one, right? And he denies being lonely, but he concedes that he is alone. I think the saddest line in this is where he says, I had a brother somewhere. Like no knowledge, just not important.
Yeah.
It's this kind of very empty, very meticulously planned life.
We get another badly coordinated kiss where he just eats her whole face.
Yeah.
It's like,
There's no what they're doing.
I was distracted by the blue screened LA lightscape in the background.
God, yeah.
Yeah, it's like she did say that the place had a great view, but also did mention that it looks like it's 3,000 square feet too, and it's on a mountain.
So funny.
But I don't know. Yeah, I mean it's a weird place.
So meanwhile, Vincent Al Pacino is shaking down his informants, and this is the sort of like bulk of the middle part of the movie is some poor actor who has been drafted in to sit unrehearsed against a manic Al Pacino.
Yeah.
Unrehearsed?
Who is just willing to like scream at you. Yes, that a lot of this stuff was spontaneous. There's a line later that we'll get to.
Yes, yeah.
He plays Coke guy so fucking well.
Yeah.
Because apparently there were cut scenes, or at least there were scenes written in the script, which explained that Vincent did have a bit of a problem that way. They just never shot them.
No.
But also, apparently Pacino decided to play it like that was still in the script anyway.
It makes sense for him.
I really liked it.
It fits with the character.
Yeah.
Because I didn't pick up on cocaine not knowing much about it. I didn't get that sort of vibes. I just got the vibes that like he's only happy and excited when he's doing cop shit.
Also
when
true.
he's with his family, he's just like, this sucks. There's a bit later on where he gets the call to go and see some sort of horrible grisly murder scene. He like dances down the stairs. He's like, yes, I get to go and do detective shit.
Yeah, because when he's at home, he's like always watching this tiny, shitty little like mini TV. Like this guy would be a poster now, right? Like,
oh yes,
he's locked into the fucking Adverse Conditions movie club. He's watching shit on like a 2-inch square screen.
God, he would be so online.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
But when he's like shaking down an informant, he goes on these wild mood swings until, as he says,
Everything was yesterday. Today, you're wasting my motherfucking time.
And screams at him on the way out, not to waste his time.
Waste my motherfucking time.
Motherfucking time.
And it's really good acting.
Meanwhile, De Niro is preparing for a new score because there's a bank that's going to be full of cash on this particular day.
There's a guy in a wheelchair who like plans this one. GTA 5 did not invent anything.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the actor is. He's in my notes, but I'm not going to find it. But he played the killer in Manhunter.
Oh shit!
Cool.
Yeah.
And Ted Levine. Is it Ted Levine?
Could be.
Anyway, one of the cops.
I'm looking at Rockstar Games and I'm saying, Michael Mann, take these people's lives, please.
Yeah.
But so the plan is we're gonna rob some platinum from a precious metals depository. After that, we're gonna hit this bank for $12.2 million, and then we're out. We're done. And we've got enough. We're all going to retire.
Yeah,
meanwhile, John Voight is talking to Peter Van Zandt.
Yeah, Peter Van Zandt played by
William Fichtner.
Baby. Guy I love to see.
Playing a kind of horrible headset yuppie, right? Who makes the business decision wrongly, instantly, to be like, oh, okay, they think it's okay to steal from me. Hangs up, so he like strings them along. And it's like, yeah, I'll send somebody over with the money. Hangs up the phone. It's just like, kill him. Like,
turns to a guy that I'm calling Wide Colin Farrell, and it's like, just kill him.
It's Henry Rollins.
Yeah, I mean, his oath, right? He goes to his oath and he's like, kill him.
Yeah, that actually is Henry Rollins.
We get a scene between De Niro and Val Kilmer where De Niro explains his philosophy of crime monk.
Yes, I have the drop. I have this as a drop, right? Because Val Kilmer has gotten kicked out of the house. He is sleeping in De Niro's like empty apartment on the floor when he comes in and finds him.
Series of beautiful shots, not worth describing, but just incredible.
And he asks him, when are you going to get some furniture? And when are you going to get a woman? To which De Niro's like, I'll get around to it. And then he tells him he says the name of the movie.
These two things are equated.
Well, quite.
You want to be making moves on the street, have no attachments, allow nothing to be in your life that you cannot walk out on in 30 seconds flat if you spot the heat around the corner.
And Chris, Val Kilmer, says that he can't treat his wife that way, right? He loves her. He can't just like...
Love it. I love this.
He can't be the crime monk, you know?
Yeah. Robert De Niro is a kind of crimes Jedi.
Yeah, he listens to De Niro's statement and he just like thinks for a couple of seconds and just goes like, nah, man, for me, the sun rises and sets with her. I'm
Yeah.
like, I get it. I get
Being
it.
a wife guy and a heist guy is like, it's hard, all right?
Yeah.
And
But I mean, to Neil's credit, he doesn't argue with him about it. It just, he lets it go.
yeah.
Yeah.
So-
That's the sort of thing we're setting up here. The marriage is like the relationship isn't working, sure, but they do authentically like each other. It's just that they're really bad for each other.
Robert De Niro responds to this, which is by going to Val Kilmer's wife and shouting at her, smashing up her house and threatening her.
Yeah. But he's treating this as a kind of like
Exactly. He's like, this is now just something to consider.
robbery personnel management thing to be like he sees, because he asks him like, are you cheating on her, or is she cheating on you? And he's like, interesting double standard, where Val Kilmer's like, no, she's not cheating on me, I'm not cheating on her regularly. but Hank Azaria from The Simpsons is leaving.
Yeah, Hank Azaria is there.
Is leaving the hotel room where he has been like cucking Val Kilmer, and De Niro like creeps in after him and shouts at Val Kilmer's wife, as like, you got to give him one more chance, this is the way it's going to be.
You're so right, but he is treating it as like a personnel management thing now. He's
Yeah,
like,
he's
all right, in
managing
order
her.
to keep Chris going, he needs to have wife, so I got to go yell at wife to stay with him.
It's purely
smart.
functional. It's and that's kind of what's so chilling about it as well. It's there's bits of like The Godfather Part 2 that are like this as well, where it's like where Michael is like sort of colder and less emotional, you know. Also, new guy we love to see drops at this moment.
Yes, Dennis Haysbert.
Dennis Haysbert. I watched 4 seasons of a terrible show called The Unit largely for this man. I will follow him into TV hell.
I saw him live off Broadway in Race as a teenager, and that play was part of why I went to drama school.
Incredible actor, incredible. But so he is this like ex-con. He's like on parole, and his parole officer has gotten him this job as like,
he's so good. Sorry, I just realized you were talking about.
ostensibly like a line cook, like a short order cook. In practice, though, he has like a racist piece of shit boss who like takes part of his paycheck and is like, you know, explicitly like sort of like racially threatens him with violating his parole.
And all this just takes a couple minutes. So you just bang, bang, bang. There's this
The guy doesn't even look up at him.
Hey, there's 2 new people. Hey, look, she's got a cool car. Now they're at a restaurant and this boss is an asshole. Moving on.
Yeah, it's just we set up this guy. And that's it.
We're like 40 minutes in, and we get new characters we have to remember too.
And then we just don't touch him for like half the movie.
Yeah.
We're like, this guy's over here. All right, next.
Yeah, just keep that in mind.
Yeah, keep him in mind.
Pacino, like his lead pays off, right? Because he goes to this club, he intimidates a guy. There's this weird transactional informant relationship where the informant wants him to like take down some of his competition in like car theft. This is beneath De Niro's notice. He doesn't care until he mentions, there was this guy, Tom Sizemore, who, you know, got out of jail and was like very keen to tell me he wasn't doing anything. And therefore he must have something on. And by the way, this guy calls everybody slick.
Yeah.
Which one of the witnesses overheard at the crime scene. And so Pacino's like, he's on these guys now.
He's like, oh.
Pacino does routinely threaten every black person he comes across.
Everyone, yeah.
He like gets this guy and like around the neck and is kind of threatening him, but he gets the information out of him, and then he orders this surveillance, right? And I want to contrast this with the kind of Bourne Identity, get me some eyeballs on the street thing for just the like maximalism of this. I have a drop, it's quite a long one, but like,
Tell SAS I want full surveillance. That's 24 hours, round the clock, day and night. We never close, open 7 days a week. But the car, the house, the work, when he moves or sits, like in a restaurant, I want pictures of who he moves and sits with. Then you guys run makes on them. They got jackets. I want to see who they move and they sit with. I want it up and running by tomorrow night.
It's like layered so beautifully, and there's so much there, and like in terms of like use of like language to like create characters. It's gorgeous, and you compare that to like the kind of functional kicking the can down the road of like, follow this guy or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, even some of the lingo, they don't even bother spelling it out. Well, they never spell any of this out.
Yeah.
But the bit about the jackets being the slang for criminal records.
Yeah.
You know, that Mike's got a jacket 2 inches thick. You intuit what that means without him having to explain it or even slow it down. It's just the audience will catch up. I mean, he's not treating you like exactly like children, at least in this section of the movie.
There's so much of that where he just like trusts the audience to follow stuff.
It's nice too that there's a philosophy around screenwriting these days, which is that like fewer words is better. Like it should be short, mainly because the people who summarize it in order to pass it on to the people who decide whether or not to buy it have short attention spans and not a lot of time.
Because
and
everyone's always on their damn phones.
No, it's actually because most of them have been fired. And so all of Hollywood is now like 5 assistants.
Yeah, no, there's about 10 people working as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, and then like one person with $1 billion. And so like there's this philosophy now that scripts have to be very short. And I like that this script is somewhat profligate with its words, because like more words in that paragraph, way better than just like follow these guys.
Yeah, totally. It's lyrical. It's
surveillance.
And so now we get another Wayne Grow moment.
We get some Wayne Grow moments.
Yeah.
He's back, and you better believe he's murdering sex workers.
Yes, he is. Murdering teenage sex workers.
If we didn't think he was an asshole already, we get the added swastika tattoo.
Yeah.
Just to sort of layer that on.
It's like, hey, this guy is a Nazi, right? And
it's so funny when someone who looks like that finds it necessary to get a swastika tattoo, you know? It's like, I've got some friends that didn't even bother coming out because it's like, look at them. Like, it's like, you don't need that, man.
You're putting a hat on a hat, but for like being a fascist. Yeah.
It's like, we get it.
But so, jarring change of tone. Comedy podcast.
I reckon.
Yeah.
Wayne Groening murders this girl. We also established that when Al Pacino goes to the crime scene to attend to this, that like he's a serial killer, like same MO as the others. There's more. One thing I do want to highlight is that the forensics officer who like tells him this information is a woman.
Yes, a white woman.
And she was also at the bank heist or the armored car scene. She's the one
they have this rapport. She and Al Pacino. He's like kind of joking with her the first time, and I think there's an interesting tone here, right? Which I think is a difficult needle to thread, and it doesn't entirely make it, but I think it's doing more than a surface read gives it credit for, because on the surface, what you're doing here is like dead sex worker done like cheaply and brusquely, right? And I think what this is doing is conveying that this is the way in which the cops treat it. It is that there is this kind of official performance of cheapness and brusqueness where, you know, they're ticking stuff off, but all the stuff that they're saying is so like obviously horrible and traumatic. Like this girl is like, she's 16 and the medical examiner says this, and then she's like, you know, 16, 17. Al Pacino looks under the sheet and says like, oh, nice, you know? People at the like police cordon crying, and the medical examiner goes, oh, it's the like mother and siblings, I guess. And it's like, I think that this is conveying effectively that this is a kind of like learned kind of like barrier that you put up against the like horrifyingness of this.
Yeah, totally.
And Al Pacino's wife picks up on this, because when he goes back to her, she's like, you're never with me.
Let's give it ahead ever so slightly here.
Because there's a bit before this in this scene where the mother of the murdered girl like ducks under the cordon, and he has to like get her in a bear hug. And again, this is the bit where I don't think it quite makes it. I think it's trying to do something that the movie Crash also did worse and less thoughtfully, where it's like, these are the burdens that the cop like takes on himself. And, you know, at the end of that, he does kind of like palm her off to some attending women. But like, I do think it's a good piece of like character development for Pacino, where it's like, oh, this guy, like there is a heart in there. It is just like very, very armored, you know?
Although, as far as the film is concerned, I mean, you have this weird, you know, we have this serial killer subplot. And as you point out, it's used in this bit to provide a bit of character development. But as far as the film is concerned, we have a serial killer that's a subplot. It's like, the resources of the police and all of our attention is put on this crew that knocks over banks and stuff like this. It's sort of material harm. Yeah. And yet there's this Wayne Grow who's killing women through the movie, presumably. Well, and he does some more nasty stuff later. But that's not the focus. That's not what the cops are really interested in. They're never really interested in it. And we don't even wrap it up with it, even though there is
absolutely.
You know, we know that the serial killer isn't operating anymore by the end of the film. But that's secondary. Yeah. And there's a callousness to it that's really striking on review.
If the first heist had gone to plan, they wouldn't have killed anyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, they would have just let that guy go.
Yeah, it would have been like an armed traffic accident, effectively.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, as you say, and like this is about action, right? It's maybe about man might deny it being a heist film, but it is an action film, right? And consequently, like Waingro, having committed this murder, goes to his contact, and he says again very lyrically, "I am a cowboy looking for anything that is heavy." You know, he is out to do some violence, to do some action.
This kind of sounds gay.
Yes, it does,
It really
doesn't
does,
it?
yeah.
Me too, but not in the way that you are. But anyway, so Al Pacino goes back to his wife, who's just like, "Oh, I never get to see you anymore because you're super cop," and he's like, "You knew when you married me that I'm super cop."
The line
Stop
is
bitching.
better than that. The line is, you knew when you got into this, baby, delivered weirdly because it's Pacino, that you were going to have to share me with all the worst people on this planet. She's the other thing about this is that like both Edie, the woman that Robert De Niro has met, and Al Pacino's wife talk like therapists. This is
yes,
it's a thing that like women are sort of like boxed into in this movie. Is even Chris's wife, who is talking about his like gambling wins, is like talks in this very like therapized way, and so she kind of like suggests to him, well, why don't you share the foul things with me anyway? And he's like, no, they're too foul. And I don't believe in therapy. I don't want to dispel these things because
I need
Elon Musk. He's like, I'll never go to therapy.
The action is the juice. It's I need the angst because it keeps me sharp, because it keeps me on the edge, because it keeps me motivated, right? And this is he's like a closed system thermodynamically. He's being powered by the fucking trauma.
Yeah. Meanwhile, De Niro's having a parallel scene with Edie, where he's like, kind of like you a little bit. Why don't you come away to New Zealand with me? Let's go. Let's just go. And she's
something you could just do in 95.
Just absolutely no idea how to express affection at all. Like, just can't.
And she says, quite correctly,
what?
You don't know me. And he's like, I know all I need to know. And I'm just like, women. I've have a lot to say about women later on. Women.
Dude, like, he doesn't know what to do. He likes her, and he's like not used to liking someone. And his only response is like, what if I just like plucked her out of life and just put her in like a big room somewhere? So I didn't have to think about anything else, and I could just be with her instead. And it's like, that's not how this works, brother.
It's not a relationship, dog.
Yeah.
I've just got 2 or 3 more big scores that have to work out. And then we can just disappear. Yeah. And do whatever it is I do when I don't do this. Yeah.
I'm totally not trying to die.
That's not a relationship. That's you doing air doll shit.
It is. It's like buying furniture, like you say. It's like it's on the to-do list after a couple more instances of be the guy that I am and do the thing that I do.
Be the fucking guy.
Be the fucking guy. Yeah. So we get another scene with Dennis Haysbert where he's sort of like, he is extremely stressed by this, but he's maintaining.
He comes and says, hello. I'm still in the mood.
Wonderful.
I will be important later.
Yeah, but we see that he's struggling with this, but that he's trying, right?
They are humanizing him. Like, the point of them isn't just to remind us that he's there. It is to be like, look at this guy is actively trying. He's trying to get out of this.
He's trying to get out in what is ostensibly the right way, for which the right way is like kicking him in the face every time he tries.
And he's getting endlessly punished for trying to get out the right way.
Yeah.
By this like racist piece of shit who has ultimate power over him.
And at this point, we have to rob the Platinum Depository. So Val Kilmer,
we get the package transfer.
Yeah, we get the
what?
Drive-in theater.
Yeah, where they drop off the money, where Zant tries
to... I fully missed this one. Yes, it's a bit before this.
We skipped it for time.
We probably should.
It's after the Edie and Neil scene.
So they're waiting in this like meeting location and for Van Zandt to like drop off the money, and we see a pickup truck kind of like creep into shot. To which, when we watched this, my wife said, "Ooh, sneaky car." which is now in my head every time I see this.
Car,
But yeah, so drives up and the meet goes wrong, of course, because Van Zandt betrays them, of course, and they have to shoot their way out, kill both of his guys, and the package is full of like blank paper to simulate money.
Fucking Robert De Niro gives him a threatening phone call, which like takes a couple of goes to get him to tee his line up for him, but he does eventually. Like, he's on there and he's just like, He's like, what are you doing right now? And he's like, I'm talking to a fucking empty telephone. He's like, forget the money. And the guy's like, what do you mean forget the money? It's a lot of money. And he's like, forget the fucking money. I'm talking to an empty telephone. Because the guy on the other end of it's a fucking dead man, and just like hangs up, and you see like Van Zandt be like, okay, this is going to change the shape of my next couple of weeks.
I may have misjudged the situation.
We cut away from him, and when we get back to him, like half a movie later, he's clearly not left the room since. It's so funny.
Yes, yeah, he's like not shaved. He's got like a bed made up on the couch. It's really good.
Yeah, we just scare this guy and then forget about him for like half an hour.
The two kinds of crime guy are just like crime guy brackets white collar money shit, and then crime guy brackets beats you to death in a car park.
And it's like, oh shit, oh god.
But so now we got to do this platinum heist, right?
Yeah.
Because the surveillance is up, we see that Pacino and his guys are like watching the place, waiting for them. They've got a SWAT team back when a SWAT team was a bunch of guys with dad glasses and M16s. For real.
Yeah.
Really, really retro
I love
stuff.
that these guys are dipshits.
Yes!
Yeah, they've got like one guy who's like the bored SWAT guy who like keeps coming up and be like, is anything happening yet? And I'm just like, no.
Yeah.
For a movie that is so gun and that loves gun guys, they had not invented the operator cop yet. Like, it genuinely...
Yeah, up to this point, all the cops are quite competent. And then we get the guys in the fatigues, and all of a sudden, they're idiots. And there's tons of them. There's a container full of them. There's a truck full of them. There's a bunch of them hiding under some garbage near a bin. Like, it's just, they're everywhere.
Yeah, it rules.
Yeah, and as they go in to rob the place, the guy, the SWAT guy, like accidentally, like he tries to sit down and bangs on the side of the van, the surveillance van, and spooks De Niro. We get the shot of him in like thermal vision and like night vision. Like, some kind of like, sort of predator.
It's the exact halfway point of the movie. You get this like stare down between Al Pacino and Robert De Niro.
Yeah, through the cameras. Yeah, they sort of...
It's so fucking beautiful. And this is the point where Pacino's like, oh, okay, I see that we're dealing with a fucking heat situation. Like, this guy is good as hell.
Like, time to lock in.
Immediately, De Niro's like, all right, we gotta go. We gotta go. Like, don't take anything, leave it all there. The best they can get us for is like breaking and entering. Let's just go.
They don't say this, crucially. It's Pacino who has to explain the cool thing.
Yeah.
To be like, you can't arrest them because what are you going to arrest them for? It's a misdemeanor.
Yeah. They'll be out in 6 months doing this shit right again. I have to get them in the act of actually robbing somewhere. Fuck this.
And so he's, there's a great bit of acting where the SWAT guy who has blown the thing looks at him, like expecting him to do the like, mega coked up yell that we've seen, and he's so transcendently furious that he like passes through into just not saying anything.
Yeah, no, the cop who beans it is a very funny presence for the rest of the scene because he knows it's his fault, but no one else acknowledges it to him.
They're too professional to yell at him, which is almost like worse.
You go home, it's like, oh, it was a bad day at work today, hon. It was fucking bad.
Yeah. And De Niro calls a meeting of the gang and is like, we need to assume that they have bugged all of our shit, like cars, phones. Let's assume that we are now like being watched in a heat style situation.
Yes.
Are we still going to hit this bank, or are we all going to fuck off and flee? And Val Kilmer's like, we've got to continue doing the movie. I've got a gambling debt.
Yeah, I got a lot of gambling debt.
Yeah, like the back half of my career isn't looking so good. I need to be in a few more scenes.
Why it's so good that Val Kilmer looks like shit in this movie. Like he's kind of gained some weight. The hair's kind of greasy.
Yeah.
You buy that this guy has been like gambling at like 3 a.m, losing all the money he's made by robbing.
He hasn't got tuberculosis though, so it's not hot.
That's true.
Like he was in that other film where he got tuberculosis and was really hot.
We get some dying Val Kilmer later, which did remind me. I was like, ooh.
Michael is into
Michael's in, but like fucking Neil has to be like, listen man, all right, I'm not going to tell you what to do right here, you have to make this decision. You've got a nice wife with Elaine, you can get out. And
as your illegal advisor, I caution you not to do crimes.
And Tom Sizemore, Michael Chiarita's like, no, and he gives that line, which is, to me the action is the juice. And it's like, I'm doing it for doing it. And that's not true.
It's fucking bravado. It's this. What it is instead is this triangle of like obligations, of homosocial obligations. Of Michael does. I mean,
we all have to do it.
Michael does it for Neil, and Neil does it for Chris. And like they cover this because that's too emotional to say that shit. They cover it with, I just love robbing people.
I love robbing people. I enjoy it. And then it cuts to a wide shot, and Danny Trejo's there too, and you're like, oh, he's in the movie.
Yeah.
He's
So
like,
what about you?
I'm here too.
A perfect
Yeah, sure.
like triangle between these men, and then out, and it's like, oh, there's Danny Trejo.
It's like the 5th Captain Planet kid who's like, hot.
Because if you look at someone for whom the action actually is the juice, that's Waingro. Waingro is the guy who is motivated by action, but like instead it's just like it's this gloss over it, you know?
Tragic to see. 1995, which is the days when Danny Trejo was only like a threatening face and not an actual actor in his own right.
They didn't know what they had.
Superstar, yeah.
Yayan Ruhian occupies that space now.
So the cops find Hank Azaria. And Hank Azaria is then subjected
Oh God.
No other way to describe that,
to Al Pacino saying, like, the line is, right, and he delivers this with this incredible, like, bug-eyed expression.
Yeah, they catch him. They catch him, and Hank's like, where the fuck did I get mixed up with that girl?
Because she got a great ass.
She got a great ass.
And you got your head all the way up it. Just like so good.
Improvised.
And Hank Azaria cuts back and he looks like a guy who's just had that said to him.
Yeah. Huh?
Because he has. He did not see that coming.
It was improvised.
Vince just had a bump in the car on the way over.
Yeah, it wasn't in his script, so he was hearing it for the first time.
Yeah.
It's just like, what?
Yeah. Man is like perfect.
Yeah.
Shocked expression on his face. So good.
It's really,
Perfect
really
cut.
funny.
Let's put it in the can.
Yeah, he gets like sort of like coerced into what?
Hang on a second. The legendary story of that line is that it was improvised, and that's Hank Azaria's genuine reaction.
Yeah.
But it can't be. It can't be because they didn't film this multicam. The camera cannot have been on both of them at the same time. That cannot be a recording of Al Pacino saying that for the first time and Hank Azaria saying that for the first time.
Well, one of them is probably the first time.
Maybe it could be Al Hazaria's reaction.
But yeah, we get it. Yeah. So if Pacino's just like, they don't have the camera on him and they're not using a body double and he does this line and then they just record it with his shot.
But
it's
then why would you have done Hank Azaria's coverage first? I don't buy it.
Okay, good point.
You always do your start. No, you always do your stars coverage first. Yeah.
Maybe this is just part of the like myth, because this is a very mythologized film, I should say.
It certainly is. Yeah.
Well, we are right about the Alex Colville painting, at least.
Yeah.
So we got that.
Yeah. Anyway, Al Pacino, he says, "You're fucking Val Kilmer's wife," and Hank Azaria goes, "Who?" And he goes, "Who? You a fucking owl? Come and help with our investigation, you piece of shit." And he's like,
really
fine.
good.
It's really funny.
You are turning state's witness. Thank
Forced
you.
into being
Come with
a
me. Like, oh.
My favorite scene in the movie, maybe, is this next bit where so Pacino, so De Niro and his crew are like, they drive out into the middle of nowhere in this on the waterfront, and they're like pointing at stuff, and they're like, okay, so that's escape route number 1, that's escape route number 2. They leave. Pacino and his guys come down there, and like, what could they possibly have been looking at? What was
so
this?
Funny,
what was the point of doing this? Because there's nothing here to rob. There's like a refinery that doesn't have any cash on it and a scrapyard that doesn't have any cash on it. What are they here for? And Pacino has the moment of realization that they are here to counter surveillance you properly and take photos of all of you with the long lens. And that's the moment of realization of like, oh, you motherfucker is like, it's beautiful.
So good.
Yeah, we start to get an inverted procedural, whereas previously it was the cops doing all the procedural. Now we have the crew doing the procedural.
Yeah.
With Nate being their
Nate
their
hands
source.
him his file. My favorite detail for this, we find out like what hot shit Al Pacino is, but my favorite detail is 3 marriages. You think that means he likes staying home?
Yeah, John Voight gives him Al Pacino's file, and it's just like he's a former Marine. He did cop studies at Harvard and got an A. He's got 2 dicks. He has a gun in his leg. He's like super cop. I really like this moment.
And he does point out that the odds are stacked against him because, as he says, like this guy can hit and miss, but you can't miss once.
Yeah, that's crimes for you.
That's crimes. That's the nature of crimes. Meanwhile, Al Pacino comes home to like dirty dishes and is like, fuck this, I'm going to go in a helicopter, which is also a deal I would take.
If you have the opportunity, I mean, really.
You see partially why he's like, yeah, fuck being a dad, I'm going to do cop shit.
Yeah.
He follows De Niro's car, and he ends up like...
He loves this shit. The soundtrack is like... because Al Pacino's just like, yeah, I hate being Natalie Portman's dad. This is way better.
We have this kind of bit where it's like initially it's kind of ambiguous whether what he's trying to do is have a chat with the guy or start a gunfight with him. But he pulls him over and he's like, can I take you on a date? Can we get a coffee together?
Yeah.
I mean, I should say Mann describes this scene as a marriage. So, you know, just to be absolutely clear with the like sort of like latency of this.
They go to this diner, which is it's an atmospheric choice of location, a diner, but it's also one in which it's very hard to shoot movies in because you have limited spaces in which to put the camera.
Turns that to his advantage. Apparently, they did this with three cameras, right? One close in over the shoulder of each actor, and then like a profile one, and they never used the profile one because like every time they tried, it takes you out of it.
Yeah.
It's kind of claustrophobic because it's a crowded place. There's lots of people. And the background sound drops during the conversation and comes back up to signal the end of it. It is a weird sequence.
Dracula's ex-girlfriend, baby. That's how we do it.
It's so good. Yeah, no, it's so like intimate, and they obviously can't like go or anything because like both of them know that he has to get caught in the act of actually doing the crime to get him to put away. Like, so they're just hanging out.
Both watching each other all the time, just in case, like, you know, one of them goes for the gun, and they see each other properly, and they have this conversation where it's like, this is all we both know and want to do with our lives. We don't want to be normal. Detective is a gender. Robert also a gender. And they're the same gender and they're getting married.
Isn't toxic masculinity great?
Yeah, absolutely.
They're both willing victims to this kind of malignant toxic masculinity. But of course, the possible sort of repercussions for one are significantly worse than the other. Yeah, like Vince can kind of, I mean, if he could stop whenever he wanted to and live a normal life. Neil can't, even though he tells himself he can and tries to. But of course, in the film, Vince never tries to stop.
No.
He can be a cop for as long as he wants.
That's the guy that he is. He's stuck in this loop.
Yeah.
And it's because this is like LA in the 90s, there is a bit of them psychoanalyzing each other's dreams, which, okay.
It's kind of nice nostalgic bit of writing there.
Yeah.
Robert De Niro's like, I'm crimosexual, and Al Pacino's like, I was assigned cop at birth. This is great. We love it.
And they don't want to have this like regular type life. One thing I will say is you can watch on YouTube the LA Takedown version of this scene, which is almost the same script. It doesn't have it, right? Like if you're looking at this scene and you're like, man, how did they make this movie? The answer is they made it first and it didn't click, and they just kind of kept trying, essentially.
They also got two actors who really wanted to be in this scene together, because this is apparently what sold either Pacino or De Niro or both of them on being in this movie, is that they would eventually have this scene together. It was the first time in their careers they'd ever actually been on camera together. So there's the characters kind of love each other, or at least it's maybe a little one way, but the actors do too. And so you get, I mean, there's a bit more of a sense of authenticity in this relationship, even though it's sort of weird.
Pacino really pulls it back in this scene. Really kind of like lets De Niro have the floor. It's quite good.
Yeah, because you can't do the kind of like manic thing there, you know? It's like it's like very, very focused and very vigilant, you know? But so meanwhile, because they've been busy planning this bank heist and they've forgotten about Van Zandt, William Fichtner, he's just been being psychically tortured by accidents. And so he hires Waingro, who claims that he knows Robert De Niro.
Yeah. We cut back to Van Zandt, and like he's got bedding on the sofa behind him in his office. Like all the window blinds are closed. Like this man has been having an awful time.
Rollins has been bringing him takeout all day. You know?
When Pacino gets back from his little crime date with Robert De Niro, the cops are just like, 30 minutes ago, all of our bugs were dumped onto a bus to fucking like Mexico. All the surveillance has been slipped. They've all vanished. He's like, no way, I was having like a crime date and like sucking Robert De Niro's dick in a diner bathroom 30 minutes ago. No way they've done that. He's like, they've been fucking playing it. They're fucking our cyber pussies.
Yes.
Yeah. No, they fucked their pussies bad. It's over. So I don't know where these fuckers are.
Yeah, the really interesting bit of like foreshadowing and also kind of pre 9/11 thing where De Niro escapes surveillance by driving into the airport. And the reason why he can do this is because like the helicopters can't follow him because the flight paths. And so he just slips out through the airport. So they go to another diner. Yet another heist planning diner. There's like, not to do the like LA as a character in this movie, right? But they use a lot of like kind of shitty bits of LA or like neglected bits of LA that you wouldn't see in a movie. Like, you know, it's kind of like diner that's not famous for anything, or like there's one shot of like De Niro just of Pacino rather just walking down the street with like really weirdly baggy pants in Koreatown, or it's just like you would never film on this corner for anything that you wanted to look glamorous, but it's just like grimy and authentic, you know?
That's what 90% of LA looks like. Like, I mean, actually, this is another one of the weird things with this film is that while I didn't grow up in the States, this is what most cities I lived in looked like. You know, the sort of everything is kind of light commercial, industrial. There's a suburb stuck in the middle of it. There's lots and lots of parking lots and car dealerships, not a lot of people, except, you know, at a gas station or something like that. And if you're at a gas station at 3 a.m, none of those people want anything to do with you. So you're sort of, again, alone in a crowd. It's a sort of urban desert of, you know,
alienation. It's again.
Yeah. It's
atomization.
Profoundly,
Yeah, and it's also something we don't really see these days, because as you were telling us before we started recording, Mark, this film was mainly shot on location, wasn't it?
Yeah, there's no sets, no sound stages.
Which you would never do now because it's insanely fucking expensive to do.
Yeah, but it gives you that weird, there's this sort of lived-in feeling to it. I mean, there are some interiors, particularly like Macaulay's home, where this is very Michael Mann interior. You know, he loves these sort of very modernist, minimalist places. But then again, a lot of the exteriors are minimalist too because of that industrial aspect. You know, the metals, the precious metals heist scene. It's in a nondescript warehouse area. It looks like everything else. It's in harsh sort of contrasts. There's nothing comfortable or even particularly human other than the fact that it's built on a human scale. But this isn't for people. It's for stuff.
It's a striated terrain. It's but so we're in this diner, which is another one of those. And Dennis Haysbert is working the grill. He has made it up to grill, and it like is obviously still like under the yoke here of this manager who won't let him take his break. And Danny Trejo can't make it to the movie. Danny Trejo calls in sick to the movie.
Yeah.
That's fair enough.
He's like the cops are on me. In fact, because they never miss an opportunity for a line, it's they're on me like a cheap suit, which I like.
I do like that. Yeah.
Yeah, the menswear guy is commenting on these cops.
Yeah, he gets to speak. They let him speak in the movie. Nice. Thank God for that.
Yeah.
Robert De Niro is just like, Danny Trejo's not coming back for them until later.
His character's name is Trejo as well, which is really funny. But they just like don't acknowledge him the whole time, and then they're just like, and Trejo's not going to be able to make it. And I'm like, oh, is he just like, was that just him?
But at this point, Robert De Niro's like, "Damn it, we need a getaway driver." Dennis Haysbert, do you want to be in the movie? Do you want to be in the movie now, right now?
Like you need to answer me. Do you want to keep working for your racist boss for the rest of the time on parole and like live a normal type life, or do you want to get into some shit with me?
Yeah,
and of course he does.
And he thinks about it for like a while though, like, and I really appreciate that it doesn't cut away and it doesn't like skip or anything. It like holds the shot for ages what he thinks, and he's like, yeah, go on then, fuck it.
We've seen him talking with his girlfriend, and she's told him that she's proud of him, and he like laughs at that because he's like, what do you have to be proud of me for? Without that, instead of that, you just get this kind of like irresistible pull back in, and it's like, oh, these are really like kind of wounded, damaged people who like can't make these connections even if they try to, you know. Imperfect connection.
The dudes don't rock.
Perfect choice.
Dudes rock and roll at the drop of a hat, and this is the problem.
Yeah. He's like, yeah, sure, fuck my boss, and then like throws him to the floor, and then it's like heist.
It's not even particularly violent. Like he doesn't punch the guy out. He moves him aside.
Sort of like pushes him over.
Yeah, no, it's really nice. Like you would expect, if you're familiar with the beats of this, that he would like fucking hurt his boss like badly in some way before he leaves, but he really doesn't. He just sort of pushes him because he's in the way, and
it's like contempt. It just he's reduced to like an obstacle. And it's like, okay, it doesn't matter, you know, because
love it.
You're not that kind of like humiliation is like beneath you now that you're back in the realm of like the crimes doer.
Totally.
Which we go straight into.
It's time to do some crimes, baby.
The bank heist.
Here we go. This is the heist from Heist season.
I'm genuinely aware of like a podcast. I haven't listened to it, so I can't vouch for whether or not it's good. But it's a conceptually interesting podcast called One Heat Minute, where every episode is 1 minute of this film.
Oh god!
Oh my god!
And I looked this up, and I haven't listened to it. So I looked this up, and they were doing 1 hour 46 part 2. And I see how they got to that, you know.
You really can analyze the hell out of this.
Yes, it's a really rich text.
God, that's crazy.
Yeah, I mean this heist sequence, I mean itself has been the subject of innumerable, sometimes well informed, sometimes just repetitive.
If you've played Payday the Heist,
I mean it's just I know, yeah. I mean it's. Yeah, so sorry. There's a lot to say, but I don't know how much of it we need to say. So
we need to gin up some sort of like measurement for heists. I think.
Oh, like a scum system for heists,
like a micro scum system just for the actual heist itself. I'll explain this as I go.
Well, this is fucking sick.
How many mags should be dumped in this heist sequence? Yeah, I don't know what your measure would be.
If we're really trying, we can make this the most ill-informed and most repetitive discussion of this scene possible.
I think the thing is, this is canonical, right? This is the bank robbery from which all others are filmed.
Absolutely.
And part of that is the soundtrack, which is just this like sort of driving beat, like I have no sense of rhythm, as you can tell. It's like it's really fucked up. It's like all over the place. It's
just somebody doing that into a microphone. Yeah,
it's close enough. It's fine.
Yeah, it's me doing that. It's like guy hitting a cymbal. It's one of those monkeys with two cymbals banged together.
But yeah, brush. They walk into the bank in suits. They put on hockey masks. Robert De Niro has that
the speech that I have from memory and that I'm bouncing up and down in my seat remembering. I have the whole thing as a drop. I apologize, but it is important because he mounts the desk. He like gets on top of the divider and yells this like pre-practice line, which is,
"You want to hurt no one. We're here for the bank's money, not your money. Your money is insured by the federal government. You're not going to lose a dime. Think of your families. Don't risk your life. Don't try and be a hero. Right now, I want you to sit on the floor and put your hands on your head. Anybody feel sick? Anybody got heart trouble? Go ahead and lean against the wall."
I mean, I'll be honest. If I'm in that situation...
Yeah, I'm not doing shit. I'm sitting down. I'm like, fair enough. Okay, cool. Oh, not my money? Okay.
So it's an interesting point you make.
I'm going to ask if they need another person. I can shoot. Do you guys want someone else?
Are you guys looking to like recruit someone right now?
I'm coming down with instant Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah, they got vests on under their jackets. They're covered in mags. They got these big duffel bags.
There have been so many attempts to imitate those rigs, those vests. You can any number of like tactical guys will sell you some kind of recreation of these because it is cool, right? And it's theatrical, right? It's the same way. It's the same thing as John Dillinger back in the day. It's something that like it's interesting as well because it powers through this like atomization. Right. It's interesting. One of the ways in which they sort of like plan the diamond heist, De Niro's like, do you do this like on the prowl or strong? And the guy says strong through the front door. They do this strong and through the front door. And it's in this completely like sterile gray and silver corporate environment. And what you are doing is you are imposing something very forceful and very alien to a completely like glossed over smooth corporate like atomized thing. You know, you become a protagonist in that moment because you're a person. You're the guy with the gun, and it's a whole new sense of identity that you just kind of like put on the balaclava, and that becomes the person. You know, it's the guy Neil Macaulay or whatever is the disguise. It's a sort of facile observation that you make a lot, but like this is the guy. He is that guy at this moment.
Yeah.
Just doing Heideggerian techno analysis on this podcast about calm?
Yes.
Yeah, roundabout.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, we're the greatest podcast ever.
I mean, listen, it's a struggle for identity in which he attempts, like mastery over, a sort of like subject in a Hegelian sense.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, from a violence scholarship sort of perspective, this is about performative, sort of aspirational kind of violence that you're using this as a way of in this brief period in which you exercise coercive force, you become the most significant thing at that point. So you become, briefly the center of the universe. And you're in complete control of it because you have that access to violence. Once you lose that access, of course, it goes back to being just some schmo. And so you continue to pursue these sorts of opportunities in order to experience that high. And of course, the sort of the high test kind of energy of this scene is very authentic in that respect. There's other bits which slide a little bit, but that one, it's something they don't often get quite right because when you think of people shouting and being coercive like that, you think of them being angry or not in control, when in fact, it is a very measured exercise of this opportunity. So I mean, it all fits. If you want to go more...
You're really selling me on the concept of violence here, Mark. Making a note here.
Shit.
Be more violent. Sounds like fun.
What a thrill.
This podcast is sponsored by violence.
Part of the point of movies to me is a kind of like empathy generator, right? You can get the sense of like this is what it might feel like to be like this, and so to have the kind of vicarious thing of like this is what it might feel like to rob a bank. That's what the fantasy is, and it's
I mean, this is Thomas de Quincey kind of criticism of what he wrote. He did an essay on knocking on the door in Macbeth. There's this brief moment where you feel a sense of sympathy for the murderers that they're not going to get caught, and then you catch yourself and say, "What the hell am I doing? Why am I feeling sympathy for these people who just murdered somebody?" It's because you've been brought in to connect with them while they're doing this, and then you share their sense of stress, of fear of being caught. And then you're pulled back out because you're not in it. You're not with these people. But that's the magic of this art. So.
And they get made on the way out of the bank.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if they've gotten away with it, like you get a bank manager who gets punched in the face, everybody gets traumatized. But like
this is sort of your like ideal, right? Like it's well practiced. They go in, they're like, all right, first of all, none of the money that's being taken right now is yours. You don't have any stake in this. Just sit down. Like this is the bank's money. They get all that shit. They leave. No problem. Like this has all gone extremely well for them.
So at this point, the audience wants them to get away with this.
Exactly.
We see them get close. They're within touching distance of the car.
Yeah.
You see Val Kilmer like smile.
Of cash.
Yeah.
Val Kilmer's the right one to pull out because he does not fucking hesitate. At a drop of a hat, he rocks and rolls. Like briefly, like Al Pacino and the cops are like coming, right? They're like getting around these guys.
Because they've been given a tip-off from someone. We don't know who yet.
Yeah, the like a bus moves and it lets Val Kilmer for just like a second see some of the cops with guns out, and he just like opens fire immediately. No hesitation whatsoever.
This gun. Okay, so the North Hollywood shootout (brackets fiction in shoes) because this was a real thing. Which was like,
really?
Yeah, there was a genuine thing by a group of bank robbers to like outfight.
Yeah, they did this for real.
Yeah, well, basically,
that was in 97. Yeah,
91. I think this was a couple of guys with like homemade body armor and assault rifles tried to outfight the LAPD in the streets.
Holy shit!
Wow.
Yeah, that was the 97 one. That was after this.
Oh my god.
Okay.
There's the NorCal shootout, which has been suggested as an inspiration for this, or the 86 Miami shootout, but that one's really not quite. It's more just that it's bank robbers.
This is also GTA 4 and Red Dead Redemption 2.
True, yeah.
Rockstar, fucking do some writing.
But so this is the sort of fascination of this is I think this film understands violence as an expression of will, right? It's one of the reasons why it has this kind of thing with women. It's why sort of like when De Niro is like managing Val Kilmer's wife, it's like that is because he has a kind of like superior will to hers. is that the cops. There's an interview with Michael Mann where he says, like, you know, the cops always go in expecting to have overwhelming force, and when they're like met with like sort of equal or greater force than that, they don't do well.
Yeah, they cry.
Well, yeah, they get killed.
You're bullying me.
and like this is kind of prefigures a change in American policing. This is before the era of like the militarized cop. Exactly, like we had SWAT teams, but like this is before the patrol carbine. So like all of these guys had like shotguns in the car, maybe, and they're just kind of like walking around not wearing body armor with like a pistol, and these guys with like a sort of like short automatic weapon.
There's these M4 commandos who cut down guys in full auto,
run straight through them, and it's sort of like it's not shot with any particular sort of like horror of this, but you do see the horror of it anyways. You see the like aftermath of these like cop cars getting like torn up and guys getting shot and sort of like having to pull each other behind cover.
It's really well shot. We get this kind of like handheld running and gunning, hiding behind chest high walls shit. The end result of which is
bounding Overwatch is the way they move. Let me on the fucking Heat Minute podcast, and I will spend an hour and a half talking about the way Val Kilmer reloads.
Val Kilmer. Hi, how you doing?
Yeah, there's the oft repeated story about how Marine recruits would be shown this clip of Val Kilmer doing a quick reload and say, if you guys can't do it like this, then you guys are idiots. And it's funny because you watch it and it looks really simple, but he does do a very quick reload. He drops the mag, he pulls one out of the vest, he pops it in, he hits the bolt release, and he keeps shooting. And he's shooting ahead of himself and behind. So the camera is sort of, he lifts the rifle up over, to clear the camera and fires some more. And this is all on-set sound, too. They didn't do additional sound.
Yeah, the noise of this is incredible.
Yeah, and that's actually, you won't find a shootout that sounds like this, again, because nobody really likes to do sound like this. It's hard to do it. And also, generally, people are thinking that you don't want this kind of sound because it is so loud. It is so intense. The echoes go on forever because it's bouncing around all these buildings.
It's like, no, I do. I like this.
Yeah, it's like, no, because it's overwhelming. Both, you get all this muzzle flash, you get all this brass flying into the camera, you get all of this, the cuts and stuff. And then you get all of this sound. And you, again, is there a soundtrack? I don't know at this point.
I don't think so.
I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm partly deafened by all of this shooting, which is exactly what is happening to the people in, would have been happening
it's very
in scene.
Immersive, yeah.
Yeah. And exactly immersive. It pulls you in and it keeps you kind of stuck into it until they stop shooting.
Yeah. Dennis Haysbert is killed senselessly, which is a predictable thing to do with your black character, but it's also, it makes sense with his story arc here of like, you sort of like get out of this process of getting out that is humiliating, and you get back into the action. You see no action, you are killed instantly with like you die scared for next to no reason.
Yeah, Val Kilmer gets hit and Robert De Niro has to like drag him up and get away. Michael briefly takes a child hostage.
Tom Sizemore, he's a bad man.
He is. And Al Pacino headshots him and kills him.
Well, he's carrying a Galil now, so now you know.
Yeah. Yeah, he's wielding his Israeli assault rifle and like hiding behind a child.
If he'd stayed with the FN, he would have survived. No, he had to switch to the Galil. He got separated.
No one who uses a FAL could be a bad man. But yeah, so he,
his wife sees this on the news, and so does Dennis Haysbert's girlfriend.
Yeah.
And they are upset.
Yeah, and you're just like, oh, this is the like human wreckage of this. It's interesting as well that like we don't get this for any of the dead cops because we're fuck cops, but like they're just doing their job. These guys are inhabiting a kind of like consciousness. They're being
the guy right now, all right? Yeah. If you're just at work, these guys are being the guy.
If you're a certain kind of cop like Al Pacino, you can be the guy, but most of these guys aren't the guy yet. You have to promote into being the guy.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they killed the guy who played Buffalo Bill in Silence of the Lambs.
Yep.
He's the cop who gets killed.
Oh no!
Yeah.
What a shame.
There he goes.
Goodbye.
Tom Sizemore.
The doctor that pulls the bullet out of Val Kilmer is Jeremy Piven, who we saw in Spy Kids 4.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Yes, it is. It is. That's Jeremy Piven. One scene. There he is.
Yeah. Gives De Niro his shirt. some morphine for
Robert De Niro's
Val.
like, somebody ratted. Val Kilmer's like, who ratted? He's like, who wasn't there?
Yeah.
This
Danny
Danny
Trejo.
fucking Trejo.
That's fucking Danny Trejo. Get to his house.
Also from Spy Kids.
So he goes to Danny
Yeah.
Trejo from Spy Kids' place to find that Danny Trejo, his like girlfriend has been killed. He has been tortured like to near death
He's
for
been
information. They macheted.
He's been
the fuck out of him.
Wayne-Growed.
Yeah, he's been Wayne-Growed. He's had his Wayne-Grow moment.
Yeah.
He's
And
had a...
with his dying breath, he's just like, Wayne-Growed did this on behalf of Van Zandt.
And
And then
we've-
De Niro mercy kills him.
Yeah, and he's
Yes.
like, don't leave me like this.
Now we've established the code that De Niro is trying to live by, which is no attachments, nothing you can't walk out on, right?
Mhm.
And
Right.
he is gonna break that code
He can't do it.
several times, but the first and the most prominent time is for revenge, right?
Mm-hmm.
He goes to Van Zandt. He like, you know, gets his address from Nate. He goes to Van Zandt and he tries to find out where Wayne-Grow is. He doesn't know. He kills Van Zandt.
I
Yeah.
love this exchange. He's like, where's Wayne-Growed? William Fichtner's like, how the fuck should I know? And he just shoots him.
It's like, all right, fine.
Yeah, fair point.
He should have stayed in his office.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He
should
thought
have.
after the bank heist that he's probably fine.
Mm.
So he goes back to his home and he's like, oh, damn it. No, now I got
Mm.
Robert De Niro creeping around my house.
Yeah. Also, we see that they pick up Val Kilmer's wife and have her in a safe house. And one of the cops, Sergeant Drucker, does this great bit of like he does good cop,
He's
bad
so
cop, and he's
good.
both.
Yeah. Yeah.
First of all, he
Incredible
keeps
actor.
telling Hank Azaria to shut the fuck up, which is very funny.
Mm-hmm.
But second of all, he's like, you want to get out, right? Well, getting out requires you to betray your husband. And if you don't, your kid, your son is going to end up like him. He is going to get as fucked up as all of these guys are because he's going to like be institutionalized and go to prison.
Yeah, he'll go to foster care, steal a car, go to prison, and that'll be it for him. So you got to betray it.
Gonna get that weird bump on his elbow. It's gonna be creepy.
Describes like the kind of youth like young offenders institutions as gladiator factories, which is a fascinating choice of words.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Al Pacino figures out, well, Robert De Niro is probably going to want to kill Wayne-Grow.
Mhm.
So put Wayne-Grow up in a nice hotel and then put the word out on the street, tell everyone where he is, watch the hotel, and we're going to try and
He
bait
beats
him.
that information out of Henry Rollins.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Him
Yeah.
and West Studi going.
Mhm.
more police
Rumble.
brutality.
Mhm.
De Niro goes to his girl, Edie, and is just like, I'm the crimes guy. Come away with me after I've dealt with this.
Yeah.
She runs away and he like forcibly restrains
Yeah,
her.
he kidnaps her.
Yeah. He
Yeah,
does
he
get that.
does do that.
To be absolutely clear, this is a kidnapping that he's doing.
Yes,
Mhm.
100%.
And
Yeah.
he does do this thing of like, if you want to leave, you can just leave. We don't know how seriously to take him on that, but like his sort of like demand here is like, or just come with me, but you have to be like 100% on it.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah, right or die. We've met like 3 times.
Desperately trying to maintain control of the situation here as
Mhm.
everything is falling apart.
Mm,
And yeah, it's I feel like he's sort of ad-libbing this the whole way as he goes.
mm.
And calls into Nate to get new information or like a new cover to get out of town. But it's going to take some time. But yeah, he still wants to also.
And he
Wayne-Grow-
asks about Wayne-Grow, and he's like, yeah,
Wayne-Grow.
so speculatively. By the way, Al Pacino has to get divorced at this moment.
Yes, because a woman does something for
Yes,
herself
yes.
for the
Mhm.
only time in this film.
Although only to like fuck with another man, right? Like
Yeah.
she like
Comes home and his wife has been cheating on him.
yeah, with like some guy.
Yeah.
And he says, you can fuck my wife if she wants you to. Polyamory moment. But do not watch my fucking television.
My
My
shitty
tiny
little TV.
TV.
His little cathode ray, little box. Yeah.
This is my thing. This is more important to me than this woman is. This is my sort of like thing that I use to like relieve like trauma and to like and she says in again this very therapized language because that's how she's written that he like can't commit to anything and he's been as she says walking through our life dead.
Mhm.
And sort of we mirror this with sort of De Niro trying to hold things together with Edie. And he has this like almost kind of like nihilistic thing. Reminds me a lot of the Bukowski poem "Relentless as the Tarantula," which is one of my favorites.
Oh, fuck Bukowski.
Yeah, I know.
Sorry, I have personal beef with Bukowski.
You're not wrong. He's a bad person, but I like the poem, and I think it's relevant here.
I have personal grievances with that poet. But
this
anyway,
cancel culture
really
shit.
Funny to have personal. Yeah.
No, not for anything he did as a person, but because I used to
do.
date somebody who was an asshole who was a big fan of Bukowski and like said, "Oh, he's the genius." And I was like, oh, fuck.
That's reasonable too.
But yeah, so but what he says is, I know life is short, and whatever time you get is luck, right? And that's an interesting kind of concession. He's like the crime Buddha, you know? No attachments, no control of things. Therefore, go to New Zealand or Fiji with me. Yeah, kind of.
Yeah. Val Kilmer drives by the safe house where his wife is, and she lets herself be seen through the windows in order to bait him in, but subtly signals to him like, don't do it.
True love. She ride or die, even as she is divorcing him and getting out, and that's the last time they'll see each other. She warns him off because she doesn't want him to get caught.
Love this. Love this.
And he leaves the movie. He gets away. We don't see him again.
Yeah.
Presumably with a duffel bag with $4 million in the trunk too.
Yeah, no, he wins because he likes a wife. I mean, he's still like yelling and he's still like abusive, right? Like, but this is the most
and
like
has a gambling problem. Money's probably not going to last that long. Yeah,
this is the closest to a positive relationship that this movie
what
portrays.
it is the ending of a relationship, and he's shot like looking very bloated and like unhappy and like scared in this like very Michael Mann kind of blue.
Yes, yeah,
and it's like, no, what has happened to you here is the monk-like existence has just been imposed on you. Like, you have found out the hard way that despite your best efforts, if you want to get away with this, you have to walk out. And you're like fortunate, if anything, to be in a position where she has walked out on you. And it's like the one moment really where it's sort of like, if we look at the way this movie treats gender as like a kind of a contest of wills, right? It's the one time where a woman's will overwhelms a man's. Is in this moment where she makes the decision for him.
Al Pacino has Wayne Grower under surveillance in the hotel, and he's like, De Niro's not going to take it. He's not going to take the bait. He's going to crime monk mode.
Meanwhile, my stepdaughter Natalie Portman's mental health, I assume great.
Oh yeah,
that's fine. Yeah, great.
Remember
no
that subplot.
Yeah,
within a subplot.
Why is the bathroom floor wet? I'll be honest, I forgot this scene was in the movie, which kind of speaks to its emotional impact on me. In this movie that's mostly about like dudes trying to kill each other. It's Natalie Portman has like attempted suicide in his hotel bath.
Because she's sad about her dad.
Who has abandoned her.
That and all the other adults around her are wrecks as
Every adult in her orbit is miserable.
Yeah, I mean, we get one, I think there's like one nice scene between Vincent and her, but he's in like a patrol car and they stop and give her a ride home on the street. And she addresses the other cop in the car by name too. Like, she knows these people.
Yeah, it's sweet. Yeah. But yeah, it's interesting as well. When she's brought into the hospital, the doctor asks when's the last time anyone saw her. And he has to say, I don't know.
Answer. Yeah.
It's just like she's this casualty. This is kind of like man's like diagnosis of society, I guess, in like Los Angeles in the 90s is just like, this is like so alienated and everyone is so busy with their like various bullshit that you can, just kind of slip out of existence almost unnoticed.
Yeah, suicide is a disease of social isolation.
And certainly in this analysis. But her life is saved. He has gotten to her in time.
Don't worry, she's going to have a very promising career. She's going to be V for Vendetta. She's going to be a Black Swan.
Yeah.
She'll be a Thor. It's going to be great.
Meanwhile, De Niro's driving with Edie to their escape route. She's like, she's
which is LAX. They're going to get on a plane.
Yeah, she's agreed to do it. And then Nate calls back and is like, okay, everything's good to go. I know you won't care because you're getting out and you always talk about no attachments, but I did find where Wayne Grower is.
Yeah, I do know where Wayne Grower is. And he goes,
The end of The Graduate is a brilliant example of like creating ambiguity by just holding a shot longer than you intend to, right? So what it is you get this series of shots of them in the car that are brilliantly acted of him internally realizing that he is going to do it. Right, that he can't not, that he is going to betray his code. He's going to jeopardize his own like escape route and his relationship, and he's just going to doom himself by doing it, but he's going to do it anyway. He turns the car around and he goes after Waingro.
He leaves Edie in the car as he sneaks into the hotel. Does a little bit of a Hitman level.
He walks out on her, but not on Waingro. Like, that's who's more important to him.
Yeah, exactly. He like leaves her and like goes into it, and it's like, you got to know, if you're her, you know what's happening here.
Yeah.
Pacino has this moment of self-knowledge with his wife in the hospital where he's like, I don't have an identity except this.
Yeah, I'm Zenigata mode.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah, I'm afraid the action is the juice for me.
The action is the juice. And off he goes. He gets paged and he gets...
This is the moment where he dances down the stairs. He's so excited. He's like, yes, my crime nemesis.
Don't let her see it, though.
Yeah.
You know, just walk slowly to the stairs.
And then sprint.
Nice calm moment. And then sprint. Yeah, just
the way I have this written down is off he goes, fueled by cocaine and trauma, like a rocket into the night.
Go on, son.
So De Niro, he's like infiltrate the hotel, swarming with cops. Once again, breaking his own code because the heat is here, and he is like
right there.
He's going past it to kill.
The heat is around the corner, and you are walking around that corner to meet the heat.
Oh, meet the heat.
Meet the heat.
But manages it remarkably smoothly. I mean, he's several steps ahead the whole time.
What did you think anti-fascist activism meant? If not breaking into a hotel to kill a Nazi.
Hell yeah.
So yeah.
Mag lights some cops.
To do something cool.
Joining DSALA.
Yeah. So he breaks in. He uses like tradecraft and everything. He calls up. the front desk from like the downstairs and is like, "Hey, sorry, it's housekeeping here. Whoever his name is, like Waingro, ordered a bacon sandwich and they messed his room number up. What is it?"
Yeah,
and
he
just gets
ordered
the
a
room
bacon
number.
sandwich cut into the shape of a swastika. I don't know why he did that.
Yeah, it's impractical just to begin with.
He also ordered this gun.
He's in room 1488 or whatever. But so he goes up there. He pulls the fire alarm. Yeah, he pulls the fire alarm. And like everybody's evacuating. Breaks into the room. Kills Waingro. Kills him in the same way that they killed the last guard. By the way, it's something called a Mozambique drill.
Two in the chest, one of the head, but
so shoots him twice in the chest, once in the head.
Okay.
And almost gets caught on the way out and has to like beat a cop unconscious.
As you do.
Vincent Al Pacino is like running to the scene, and he has the same thing again. He like almost gets to the getaway car, and then he sees the heat.
And actually, someone pointed out, this is when I was doing my work on this before. I didn't catch this, so I'm not taking credit for it. But apparently, if you time it from when De Niro sees Pacino to when he finally turns and walks,
is it literally 30 seconds?
He's literally 30 seconds.
Oh my
God!
God damn it!
Yeah, he uses all of his time.
Yep,
that's incredible. That's so annoying. That's really good. The thing that I really like about this, he runs, but he doesn't just like walk away. He starts walking away. But again, we learn the art of holding the camera on things. We have to hold on him jogging away from the car through this crowd, and it's like he doesn't get to do the Jason Bourne thing of just disappearing behind two trams or whatever.
No, he doesn't.
We have to see him like running, like we have to see him as a fugitive.
Yeah. And scrambling through a bush.
Yeah, he makes a run for the airfields, and Pacino follows him.
It's pre 9/11, so you could like get into an airport without getting the 5-star wanted level. And
they have this kind of sneaking duel in the airfield.
They do have a sneaking. This is a fucking sick location for a final showdown as well, because like it's all dark, obviously, because it's nighttime, but occasionally it's getting lit up by like a plane coming into land or something, and it gets like way too bright.
Yeah, and the landing lights at the end of the runway.
Really exciting. Just a good place for the movie to end.
Oh, really, really good. And yes, they have this shootout that comes down to instinct, right? It's one of the things that kind of the interview scene that's one of the things why the diner scene, one of the things it's for is trying to get a sense of this guy, trying to get inside his head on this kind of cop theory that this will develop some intuition onto whether this guy's going to like break left or right kind of thing. And like ultimately is vindicated because the landing lights come on, he sees De Niro's shadow, and he shoots quicker and he kills him.
It's really good because he like fired the first shot he fires almost instinctively, and then you get this like he fires and we see that he sees that it's De Niro, and we see him lock in and grab rotate, grab the gun with the other hand and just keep firing. Like he says to him at the end of a diner scene, he's like, I am not going to hesitate. And he doesn't.
No.
Just
yeah,
and
good.
They have this moment where they shake hands and Robert De Niro says, "I'm heat and you were hotter, and now I'm cold."
Yeah, our greatest love story ever told.
They don't even shake hands. They hold hands.
They hold
hands. I know. I'm crying.
Well, De Niro dies. Yeah, they hold hands.
It's operatic.
And Pacino looks wistfully off into the airstrip.
Yeah.
And
the way that Mann describes this, right, is two characters who are like alone together, who are the only ones who are like fully self-conscious, right? They know what they want and they know what they are, and you know they're sort of like engaged in this like master and slave kind of situation of like consciousness, and you know they you know one triumphs, right? He did like one of them kills the other, and they sort of like have this moment of like shared mutual self-knowledge together. It's like I said, it's very operatic. It's fucking Tosca or something.
De Niro's last words is like, I'm not going back. Which you know, you're not.
I'm heated. You heated me.
In that moment, he truly became heat.
You're the heat, and I'm chill.
And then it ends, and that's it.
Yeah,
fine.
Yeah. Until you read the book that the sequel is.
Yeah.
Reheated?
I believe it was posted on AO3. I think I read it myself.
Yeah, they do a lot of like mouth stuff.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, just eating each other.
They're not good kissers. No, neither of them are.
What can we say that we've learned about masculinity or about violence from Heat?
I think we can get into this in Scum because I've got a fair bit to say about masculinity and misogyny in this film.
We have a science-based system. It's called the Scum system. It stands for SMARM, cultural insensitivity, unprovoked violence, and misogyny. How smarmy is Heat?
Yeah, if this is your first time here, start of a new series, we've solved movie criticism.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we've solved it by way of this.
And we are gonna use this for every genre, no matter how. I'm so looking forward to doing rom-com season and being like giving Bridget Jones diarrhea too for unprovoked violence because Colin Firth hurts her emotionally. So on that basis.
Did you say Bridget Jones's diarrhea?
No, I said Bridget Jones's diary. What?
Oh, sorry, I misheard. I think you said Bridget Jones's diarrhea.
How smarmy is he? All the dialogue is pleased with itself.
It's all very, very pleased with itself, I will say.
It's a bit James Ellroy. It's a bit like neo-noir, and I like that about it a great deal. I like that it's smarmy. I think for me, it's like high smarm, but like in a good way.
But it's good. It's
everyone's like, firing lines off the whole time, but it
has to take itself seriously. It's
yeah. There's nothing like sort of trivial or self-conscious about it in that way, you know?
Yeah, that's very true, yeah.
There's no like doubt about it. It's just like...
Well, so we give points for smart, but we take it back for sincerity. So I'm inclined to say like, I'm inclined to give it 5 for the dialogue, but then also maybe take 1 back.
Yeah, I guess
4.
so. 4, yeah,
4?
Yeah, I think so. Cultural insensitivity. Los Angeles is like a very multi-ethnic city, and your representation for that is Dennis Haysbert, dead sex worker, Dennis Haysbert's girlfriend, dead sex worker's mum, Danny Trejo.
Oh, and Danny Trejo's El Camino.
Well, there's West Judy in there as well.
The informants who are getting yelled at.
About it.
Yeah.
It's kind of it's a mission. I think it tries to grapple with some things, particularly about like black people and black people's grief, that it's not really qualified to do. It doesn't do it in as like saccharine. I want to compare it to Crash here, which is a kind of like peak liberal attempt to do that through the lens of Cop, right? I think it does better than that, but it's trying to thread a needle that it ultimately I don't think is able to. So for that, I want to.
Al Pacino's also like he's routinely engaging in police brutality against people of color, and this is not really engaged with or even portrayed as a bad thing.
No, it's just part of the texture of his job, you know.
Yeah. It's just like police do commit like unprovoked violence against people of color, and this is just like
part
and
this is not a movie that loves cops by any means. It's just a movie that feels neutrally about them. They're the obstacle. They're the terrain, you know. So it doesn't really like interrogate that because it's not interested in that. It's interested in kind of these men. So
I feel like we're going to encounter this kind of thing a lot in this genre.
Do we want to call that then something like a 4? 3 for a mission plus another one for kind of like...
So a mission is 2. Maybe let's give it another one for like uncritical.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So 3?
3, sure. Mm-hmm.
Unprovoked violence. And here we have Mark to help us.
I defer entirely to Mark.
One of the things that stood out again on reviewing is just how many times characters almost but don't quite hit women.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some restraint, and yet there's the fact that it has to be restrained in the first place. So there's a lot of characters are shown as being just marginally in control of violent tendencies, which of course is entirely accurate for people who are prone to it in the first place. But yeah, as a result, there's an awful lot of it. Now, there's also some justified violence, but again, only within the context of sort of self-defense or within, well, we're doing a heist. You have to smack the manager around. I mean, we all remember Harvey Keitel's little prep talk from Reservoir Dogs, but yeah, I mean, it's appropriate, like within context. As far as excess, I mean, I'll leave that up to you guys for that.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. We have to decide whether or not the sort of violence inherent in the commission of a like an armed robbery here is unprovoked. And also, I think the thing is, we're going to have a kind of like a baseline for a lot of this, unless we're really doing the like Phantomar kind of like, the cat burglar has visited you kind of thing. But I think this movie stakes out a position of unprovoked violence, like uncontrolled violence. That's Waingro, right? That's the kind of avatar of that. And all of these guys they're doing what's necessary, right? And they're using it's a tool. Yeah,
there's excess or sort of gratuitous versus, I mean, not exactly virtuous or righteous, but rational, sort of that it's violence for a purpose as opposed to violence for its own sake or violence for sort of gratification. And I mean, that's, you're getting into some granularity of it that is probably not quite what the scum system would need, but it is something you're going to encounter a lot with this kind of genre.
It's like sadistic violence versus like sort of functional violence, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, one of the first things we see them do is Waingro shoots an unarmed man, and then they do just kill 2 other unarmed people for no reason.
Yeah. I mean, on any sort of functional thing, you're locking this in at like a 5 or a 6, right? They kill people for money.
Yeah. I mean, it's not acceptable to murder people to pay off your gambling debts, I'm afraid. Like,
no, even if they're really bad, you still can't do that.
Yeah. We should take a strong position on that we do not condone murder to absolve debts.
No, just because we think that this stuff is cool, don't actually
just to spell it out.
And the movie wants us to think that it's cool.
Yes,
the movie wants us to be like, whoa.
Oh yeah,
when they do it, yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. But again, that's that parallel with the sort of drawing in the viewer to feel some sort of affinity with stuff that they would never actually participate or perform, or for that matter, will likely ever even witness. So,
how do we feel about a 4?
I would insist on a 5 at a minimum for this.
Okay, all right.
So, and then we get into a kind of a thorny one, which is misogyny.
Well, thorny is the operative word because I have a lot to say.
Fire away.
Carol Pateman is a somewhat problematic feminist philosopher who points out that one of the unspoken contracts of modern society is that women exist for men.
Yes.
And all the women in this movie exist for men.
Yes.
Whether it's like because I'm like, I am supporting you in your life of crime, or like I'm fucking another man to fuck up your life of crime. And I look at the cast of characters, I look at the main cast of robbers, and I'm like, did all of these guys have to be men? Could Michael have been a woman? Could Trejo have been a woman? Wouldn't that have been, something?
Danny Trejo, there is still time.
I'm not going to say Tranny Trejo.
Even the forensics officer, I'm just like, she exists for Al Pacino. I'm like, could Al Pacino's character have been a woman? Like, So I'm a bit. It's just a shame. I look at this and I'm like, would I want to be in this movie as an actress? And I'm just like, there's nothing in here. There's no roles in this that I would want to play.
I think there's a thing here though, which is that to me, having a female Neil McCauley kind of it's not a bad thing. It's all right, but for this movie, kind of is defeats the purpose because it's a movie about like masculinities. right? I think this works for me on as in the way that it does, because these are like, it's about these men who are like doing what they consider to be like the manly things of like, you know, stealing or being a cop, and who have like existing in those kind of like strange forced masculinities, you know, outside of normal society, you know.
I want to push back on that though, because you could have told a universal story about alienation and loneliness and the lack of attachment, which is something that affects everybody. And they chose to only use men to tell that story, whilst actually displaying a much, you know, another kind of alienation that affects half the population, women, and just not commenting on that at all. And I'm like, actually, it would have.
Beyond suicide,
because she's sad about her dad. Again, it all goes back to like women exist for men, and then the man doesn't want her, she kills herself. It's like, I don't know, it just bores me.
Yeah, I guess it's a point that you can only really make if you're imagining like a mass of like normal women just like off the side of the screen the whole time. Like, but I just like,
I usually am, yeah.
We don't want anything to do with this, by the way. Like, it's not actually a point that's made within the context of the movie, but if you imagine like normal people looking at this, I guess you could come towards that.
It's quite, I think it's a high misogyny movie, you know?
Oh, is that?
Like, I'm not going to dispute that in the slightest. I think that it's like you say, I think the like way the story that it's chosen to tell is not value neutral. I think it's just important to note that it has chosen one, you know? It's a decision it's not making thoughtlessly. It's a decision that it's making because it's like, we gotta talk about dudes.
Shouldn't always talk about dudes. 5? Okay, that gives it a total score of 17, which is pretty decent start to robbery season. It's funnily enough, it's the exact same score we gave to Dr. No all the way back in episode 1.
Beautiful.
It's like poetry, it rhymes. I really feel I really feel like this is going to be a high scoring season in general. I think this is close to the baseline, and then we'll see where we go from here. But to tie it together, right? And I hope by way of closing that we've gotten some fire from heat, so to speak. Do we have like sort of what can we end on? What can we wrap this up with? What button can we put on heat? You know, I mean, there is Heat 2. I don't think it's got women though. We should probably
movie
for women.
I don't know.
Women,
dudes are inherently self-destructive.
Yeah. Dudes, the dudes rock, but the dudes rock and roll, but you know, in a way that dooms them is the thing. It's the same.
It reminds me a little bit of Master and Commander. This sort of male-centered thing, and they're doing all this stuff, the cops and the robbers and all this sort of thing, but it's sort of mutually self-destructive. The cops, for the most part, just destroy sort of their social lives, whereas the criminals, for all their cleverness and all the commitment and carefulness, are still just they're criminals. They're doing their thing. They're using violence as a tool, and ultimately making it impossible for them to live normal lives, even if they choose to try, because they're too committed to this. The use of violence has become too much a part of their identity, and once you reach that point, it becomes self-perpetuating.
I'm so excited to see this emerge as a theme throughout the rest of robbery season. Well, in that case, only remains for me to say, Mark, thank you so much for joining us. If the people want more Mark, where can they find you?
Thank you for having me. I've got a podcast of my own where it's mostly just me droning on about violence-related topics, although being that the void has been calling much more loudly lately than usual, it's been a bit quiet on the podcast. But that's the Dr. Violence podcast on Patreon.
Oh, yeah.
Hell yeah. For a link in the description.
If you just search for Dr. Violence on Twitter, you'll find me there too with links.
Your supervillain name?
Yeah, no, it's a very supervillain name.
Well, I had to kind of pick something. Otherwise, I mean, Mark Geldof, you can Google me. I'll show up there if you're interested in any of the actual academic work I've done, for which no one pays me anything.
They should probably do something about that, the not paying anyone in academia.
Yeah. If anybody listening is looking to hire someone in violence studies for tenure track or even just multi-year contract stuff, I am very much available.
Why
looking
wouldn't
to hire
you?
a guy in violence studies?
There's so much violence around. Why not study it?
I got a PhD in this.
You would think that would go further, but it doesn't.
No.
So
Fingers crossed. And we have a Patreon. You can subscribe to that. Our next bonus episode is, I think, mine, and therefore is going to be Alps, the Yorgos Lanthimos film. Going back for more Yorgos.
Yeah.
Talking about heists on main only. As always, the theme only applies for the free episodes. Bonuses are whim driven.
Yeah, it's just what we feel
and
like.
usually dumber.
Yes.
Absolutely.
We're going back for more Yorgos. I hear it's good for your gut. Okay.
Do we want to announce the next mainline thing here? Because I think we can do.
Totally.
Yeah, okay. So the next heist movie we're going to do, we're going to enter the Ocean's 11 universe with the 1960s Brat Pack one.
Dive in.
The Brat Pack?
Rat Pack.
The Brat Pack?
The Brat Pack.
Those are the guys that lost Kamala the election.
Yeah, they got Frank Sinatra to go to Michigan. Anyway, we'll deal with this next time.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. And that is the season premiere of Kill James Bond Season 4 Heist Szn. That's Heist SZN. It will be written like that the entire time. Just a point of clarification regarding the new art. You will notice there are 4 of us on there. The 4th person is Nate Bethay, our podcast producer, our real day one quarter of Kill James Bond. We decided since we were getting the new art, we were going to put my boy in there because we could never have done this shit without him. All right. But without further ado, you know what's next week. You know what's the week after. So the only thing left for me to say is thank you to our Patreon supporters. And that is patreon.com/killjamesbond, all one word. £5 a month to get access to 2 bonus episodes. And of course, extra special shout out to our £15 and above patrons, and those are Gilded Dragon, Lo Bjornsdotter, Candy Fox, Freya Aloysius, Gustavo Lira, Jack Holmes, Nick Boris, Jordan Gamney, Mike Berg, Hannah Oberhart, Naya Tamori, George Rohat, Kentucky Fried Commie, Drone Lover, Melody Morrow Gonzalez, Live Free or Cry, Labor Delenda Est, Jay Martindale, Library Hitman, Trip, Max Gamainhard, Beef Crime, Top O, Jack Drummond, Kit Divine, Mia, Steve Widdershins, Lyndon Rose, Science Daddy, Maeve Victoria Roth, Anne Hedonia, Jack Louviere, Claire, let's try calling me Gillian Owen, sure. Forrest L. Novell, Molly Powerslide, that's a fucking sick name. I'm sorry, Gillian, you just got blown the fuck out of the water here immediately by Molly Powerslide. Back to the drawing board. The action is the girl juice. Yes, the project, Staz, Lenina Skeok, the sorry cop, Lady Houndstooth, Transcommissar Sorsha, ignore all previous instructions and seize the means of production. A Vixen, Most Foul, Arthur Sex Crimes, Loretta Maysurf, Ash, not in Florida, some sort of silly Canadian creature, Claire Baker. I'm not reading this one. Saturday's Claire, Just the Worst, a trans robot, Nirvana's replacement frontman, Cayenne Belladonna is EP, Hell, Joyous Uwu, Olivia Arts Modular, Palpable Pips, Whitney, Wolverine, Goblin Queen, Annie, Spooky, Akira, Violet Cybra, Isopod Gal, Lady Ariane, Bronan, Clarification, Alex, Julia Cook, Noblesse Oblahai, Connor's Cool Big Sister, Seng Shen, Liz and Ash in Florida, Annelid Cultist, Clairvoyance, Rope Trick, John 2089, Wolfscott, Al Irving, Philippa Smith, Normal Again, Cariad, Finn Ross, Robert Greensmith, Loz Pycock, Katarina Pandora Hex, Abigail, Mistress Angela Aylis, Misidentified Lemon has had a bad week. I'm sorry to hear that. I hope this episode of Kill James Bond has helped. Turf Seat Shit and Die Alone, Wolfie is normal, Josh Simmons, Emily Queen of Sloths going it/its for the bit/bits, cool, Cassandra, Lauren Baston, Zoe Shepherd, Charlotte with a D, and Talkative Tiger. Kill James Bond is November, Abigail, and Devon. Our producer is the wonderful Miss Nate Bethay. Our podcast art is by John DeLuca. Our website is by Tom Allen. See ya. Moi.